a D&D 5e campaign based in the setting by the name of Curse of Strahd. I'm your DM, Matt Bliss, and here we have a wonderful cadre of players. If y'all can announce your names and who you're playing once more. Whoever's, we'll go by the order of the Discord roster.
Cool. I am Brad, and I will be playing Aiden Newell tonight.
I'm the cute and cuddly Zach, playing Sudriel Baldric tonight. Same thing as I always do.
I am Obi, and I will play Muriel.
Hi, I'm Linnea. I play Sajan Fool's Fellow.
I'm Braden. I'm a lovable scamp, and I'm playing Victor von Frankengore.
Tonight, we return to Barovia. After a long handful of days, traveling on summons from the Harpers and the Order of the Gauntlet, our party arrived in the town of Daggerford, the humble establishment which played host to a number of retired adventurers and generally is a stepping-off point along the tradeway. Our heroes had been tasked with a singular mission, to investigate the mists surrounding the Misty Forest, which had been reported recently to have contained a host of werewolves. Investigating the disturbance, that is indeed what our heroes found. Beating them back with the aid of a nimble right provided by the Harpers, they were forced to retreat into the mists of the Misty Forest, and thereby beginning a long journey. Longer than they had anticipated, for in the middle of the night, with the snarls of the werewolves chasing behind them, they became turned around and quite lost indeed. More lost than they thought they could ever be. For when they emerged and the morning light shone wan through those mists, they found themselves in a dreadland. Walking through the woods, they came to a gate, taller than anything they had seen except for in Waterdeep, but surrounded by no city of that size. An imperious gate guarded by headless statues. Clearly, time-worn. Stepping closer to the gate, it opened of its own accord, and walking through it, shut behind them. And as they wound their way through the woods, they came to a field. Dappling the field were rolling hills, and then there in the far distance, as the mists rose through the deadening grass, a small village, and looming over it, a tall shard of black. A castle, resting on the pillar stone of some foothills. And, having found a letter on a decaying corpse, with the sounds of wolves resounding through the woods, that is where we pick up. The lot of you are now here, with this strange scene greeting you. A path winds through the field, and you hear the cawing of ravens from some place in the distance. I will remind everybody at this point that the letter that was found can be reviewed in the general handouts section of this channel.
Type that up. By chance?
Come again?
Didn't Zach type this up by chance?
Yeah, it's underneath it.
I did, yeah.
In general handouts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's there's a
Yeah.
chat under
okay.
it.
Yep.
I see it. Okay.
Yep.
The battered letter, worn by moisture and exposure to the elements in general, reads, "Hail thee, knight, hail thee of might and valor. I, the burgomaster of Barovia, and you send you honor with despair. My adopted daughter, the fair Irina Kolyana, has been these past nights bitten by a vampire. For over 400 years, this creature has drained the lifeblood of my people. How, my dear Irina, languishes and dies from an unholy wound caused by this vile beast. He has become too powerful to conquer. So I say to you, give us up for dead, and encircle this land with the symbols of good. Let holy men call whom their power upon their power, that the devil may be contained within the walls of weeping Barovia. Leave our sorrows to our graves, and save the world from this evil fate of ours." Sorry, this is in a script font, which is very difficult to read. There is much wealth untapped within this community. Return for your reward after we are all departed for a better life. Kolyan Indirovich, Burgomaster. The letter was clutched in the frozen hands of the corpse. And as you pocket it, you survey the small village. You wonder if it came from there. A brief reminder. Everybody has one level of exhaustion. You traveled through the night, no rest, and found yourself here in this dire realm. You have had a short rest, or if you haven't, you are able to. And there's something strange about this place. The sun does not shine here. You think it to be a bit of inclement weather, but there's something off about it. The field of clouds above you shows no sign of breakage anywhere. And indeed, as you look into the distance, the mists seem to engulf this place. Allow me to get my book while you consider what you might do first.
It's probably a Wendy's.
Yeah, see? Look right here.
Look at that. Not sponsored by Wendy's.
That's not the right one.
Not sponsored.
We could be, though. Wendy's.
Yeah,
you're out
Wendy's.
there.
Yeah, hit us out. Call us out. Yeah.
Just a spoiler, there's no Wendy's in Barovia.
What the?
Damn it! All there is Checkers.
White Castles. Oh my goodness.
The real story of the Curse of Strahd is how Strahd is trying to force out all other fast food chains so that he has a monopoly on the market.
Oh, you mean he's that one place?
McDonald's?
No, the one in California.
Confronted with this vista, what do you do?
I think making our way to city's probably in our best interest.
Yes, I suppose that is a logical way to do things, he says.
Who has the letter?
Sudriel.
Yep.
Did you read it out loud?
Yeah, I would have read it as I typed it out.
Okay.
Maybe as stutteringly as I did, for it is written in an old hand, a script which died long ago with its illegibility.
Well, there's monsters in these parts, so we probably don't want to be caught out again. We already know there's werewolves.
Yes,
Say-
I... Go ahead. Yes,
After you.
I am not accustomed to being outside the city walls long, or this late, or around this many creatures. So, if we could kindly move to a city, I wouldn't mind a bit of rest.
A raven at that moment lights down on the ground in front of you and caws at Victor in particular, tilting its head and flapping its wings.
He, like, he gets like the kind of crazy squinty eye, and he points out his finger gun toward it. Like, what do you want? Who are you?
As
Who
soon as
sent
you point at it, it takes that as a sign and shuffles off, flapping into the wind. It flies away.
That's what.
Do I recognize this raven?
Make Make an animal handling check. The first roll of the night, everybody. A grim portent or a trustful boon? What do you roll?
He's gonna seduce the.
Okay. That's a 14.
Middling. On a 14, you do not recognize the raven, and that is a sign that you do not know it. It is not unrecognizable, you merely are not acquainted.
What direction does it fly off in?
Back into the woods, giving you a wide berth, and then you watch as it flaps past a river. The river you see now snakes through the field and disappears behind some rolling hillocks.
You said we do see a city?
You see no city,
Okay.
but you do see in the distance tall shapes looming out of the dense fog that pools at the base of the pillar stone underneath the castle, which you can see from your vantage.
Well, I don't particularly feel going off-road, so I guess I'll take the lead and start walking down the road that we're on. Not the direction we've come from.
You begin to walk. Does the rest of the party follow your lead?
Yeah.
I will follow closely to the nimble right, trying to keep little gazes and steady the runes on its body the best I can.
Quick question, just for the sake of things. Is Braden quiet to anybody else?
Braden, try it again. Let me.
Like this? Quiet still?
Normal.
Speak a sentence.
Okay, so the brown cow jumped over the moon, and the spoon and the fork had an almond.
No.
He's normal for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
me.
alright, yeah. I mean, I haven't boosted it a little
I
bit.
mean, I
but-
have him cranked, but it's normal.
I
Okay.
can try and
Christmas with the
You're
cranks.
good. If everybody has your volume turned up, I will as well.
Christmas
Alright.
with the cranks is communist satanic propaganda.
You begin moving down the road towards the lumbering shapes in the distance. Not that they move, but rather that they sort of burble with the movement of the mist. Black pools of water stand like dark mirrors in the road before you. Giant trees give way to sodden grass and mounds of earth underneath, which seem tilled somehow. A field like this might normally smell sweet, but something about this place smells vegetal, rotten in some fashion. There is a sweetness to it if one delights in such things, but to anybody else, a stench of slow decay is on the air. The smell of fall, if you will. And now it's my turn for my first roll. Please bear with me. You begin to traipse down the road, winding your way through, watching as the mountains reveal themselves on either end of you. You are in a valley. South of you, a great peak rises out of the forests. It pummels out of the earth like a cat's paw, poised. And to the other side of the valley, another mountain does likewise. There's a severity to the forms of the stone, but they are quite beautiful in their own right. As you continue towards the small huddle of buildings, it begins to become more clear. Tall shapes loom out of the dense fog that surrounds everything, and the muddy ground underfoot begins to give way to slick, wet cobblestones. The tall shapes become recognizable as village dwellings, but the windows of each house stare out from pools of blackness. No sound cuts the silence of this place. No foot dares to cross the road in front of you. And nothing disturbs the uneasy stillness of the air, save for one thing, a mournful sobbing that echoes through the streets from a distance. If you'll bear with me, we're going to change boards.
Mm.
As you travel, what are you thinking? We'll go in a round, let's say.
It's like same order as
Same order.
names.
Yeah.
Aiden has his brother that he left behind on his mind, and how far we seem to be away from where he told him he'd last be. Is just trying to figure out what next moves are with new information gathered, and potential of going back, and what that looks like.
Sudriel would be sort of caught up in thought of how such a place like this sort of exists and persists, because according to all rules of dynamic space and everything like that, and everything that he's studied, some place like this shouldn't feasibly be possible. There would have
You
to
are
be.
certainly able to make an Arcana or History check to see what you can ascertain.
I mean, I'll make an Arcana check with magics. That's a 19 plus whatever my mod is. So 24.
Arcana, you said?
Yes, indeed.
The people of the book study things, many things, most notably of which, to ground their studies, they turn to history. And so you have done. In your long studies, what was that number again?
So 24.
On a 24. Your studies led you in many different directions. The one which is most important here is an old tale. A children's tale, a fable. Something that parents of smaller villages use to scare their children into behaving. A place named Barovia. You know that the tale tells of a place where those who enter never escape, save for a particular group who's allowed in and out. They are nearly fey-like with their levels of mischief. And you believe you remember that place to be named Barovia. As for the magical workings, no such mention was contained within the story. As children's stories go, all that was told was the facts. People go in and never come out. These are the things that you think on a 24. Your cadre slogs down the muddying road, and you become cognizant once more of the creak and clatter of the nimble right. You look to see and notice that some of the magical workings have begun to almost electroplate, if you will. The metal of them is beginning to shift shape, and what was once smooth joints has begun to grind and gutter, creating an unpleasant squeaking and squealing as you move. Anybody else? Thoughts?
I think Mirio is slowly, internally, he's burning with rage. At the surface level, the rage is inconvenience and not being able to sleep for a long time. And then, like, the next level down is being in this obviously dark place. And the anger towards the creatures that might live here.
As we walk, I would be obviously keeping an eye on my surroundings, but like trying to find some beauty within the dark. My mind would be racing with like just like the thoughts in a circular fashion of like there has to be something beautiful. Like this dark emptiness can't be all that there is. There has to be something beautiful. This can't be all that there is.
I'll give you a choice. Roll a wisdom save, or roll a perception check.
We'll roll the save. That's a 12.
On a 12, you spiral, thinking there must be something here, something worth dwelling on. Nothing here is beautiful. Nothing at all. I can't find it. I can't see it. And then it comes to you. And perhaps there is nothing yet beautiful here. And perhaps what is beautiful will be all the more so for having found it at all. Until then, you sense that you will have to steel yourself against this place, for it is as your mind repeats upon itself again and again. There is nothing here. It is all gnarled and pilled and moldering. In the distance, the trees jut up sharp like jaws. Ahead of you, the castle raises imperious and glowering. And as you walk through the village, the cold of the road begins to seep into your boots. The gray skies, everything about it is glum, decidedly so. You hope, as you recognize the shapes of the village buildings, and your ruminations begin to cease, replaced then by perceiving this new place, you hope that perhaps the people will be a respite from the dour surroundings. You receive no ill effects from your save, and resolve to continue going.
Say what Victor is thinking. Is he able to see the lightning on this castle? And would he be able to determine
No,
if that's
that is purely a cosmetic thing because that is made by somebody else.
100% fine? Just wondered.
Are we? Rather, is that everybody's thoughts as you journey?
I apologize for my wind tunnel audio. but I would say that Brittany is essentially head empty, no thoughts, almost. Very close to. She is watching everyone around her, and also just like, in awe of the surroundings, but not really thinking too deeply about it. Would you say Victor was still observing the, I don't know, I don't remember how to,
The nimble
what
right?
the term is. Yes, the nibble right, that's what it is.
Yes. So, between glances with the nimble right, he would be thinking about, wow, I should not be. I didn't plan to be out this long. I'm not used to being in this much of a forested area. This is not my comfort zone. I have no idea what the hell I am doing. What am I doing? Uh, Very anxious. The anxious vibe.
I will say, as Brittany's head empty, no thoughts, looking around, I think she notices Victor taking a look at the Nibblewright, and since she has no idea what the thing is, she'll walk over, assuming he just knows exactly what it is. He's just checking it out, right? Making sure it's working fine. So, your little robot thingy, this is yours, right? Without waiting for an answer, I'll continue. So basically, it's kind of getting a little noisy. Do you know why? Do you think this place is doing that? I mean, it's kind of ominous. Am I right or am I right?
Oh yes, this place is this is the opposite of bitchy, as the kids say. I do not like
Oh,
it at all.
you are so snazzy. Okay, anyways, so when this thing was like helping us fight the wolves or whatever, did it like know it was doing things, or were you just like telling it to do things?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I am this close to figuring this thing out, but I still have no idea what the hell is going
Braden,
on.
roll an Arcana check for me, please.
Arcana?
Yeah. I believe you attempted to discern how it works earlier, yes?
Yes, I've kind of been trying to do that the entire time in snippets.
Yes.
Sorry, I gotta have my window for my character sheet. Arcana, you say?
Yes.
Alright, that is going to be a 17.
Brittany, when he says this, you can tell that he speaks truthfully. There is no play about what he says, no dishonesty. He is invested in discerning and disentangling the mechanisms of it, and he has found great progress so far.
What I can say, however, is that my compatriot over there has some sort of mental link, but I haven't really. He's not really the talking type, and his Nimblewright certainly isn't, so I haven't really been able to discern how that works, whether by device or magical arcane spells or some other form of control that I am ignorant to at this moment. And as he says all this, he's flipping through his book.
Also, while you're doing that, I'm smiling and nodding, and the head empty, no thoughts look on my face becomes even more apparent as you continue to use technical terms, and sort of start losing a little interest since I have no idea what you're talking about, but I just am too nice to let you know that. So I'm like,
Do you try to cover it up?
The cover up is like smiling widely. My eyes give away the fact that I don't know what's going on.
Would Victor?
But I'm not very like doing the full face cover up, though. I mean, I don't know if Victor would notice or not, since he's flipping through anyways.
Would he notice as a look that he might have gotten before?
I'm not even. It's not even like a. I don't care. It's just like I have no
sure.
clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, like once you get too in the weeds with somebody, they're just like, yeah, like, you recognize that look, Victor, because you've actually incurred it quite a few times, and just as you are about to address it, you hear a, and the Nibblewright stops, pulls out its blade and does a little flourish with the tip before elegantly beginning to poise itself for a bow. It stops about halfway through the bow, seemingly locked.
When it starts doing that, I'm gonna scream at first when it starts like pulling out the blade, be like, "Oh my god!" But then as it flourishes, I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And like applaud its little flourish until it like preps for battle, and then I just look at it and I look at Victor and I'm like, "So why did it stop? I thought it was gonna keep doing little blade tricks."
Its wrist rotates on repeat, driving the point of the blade in the same circle, idly as if a hinge creaking on the wind.
As it locks up, I'm gonna make my way over to it, and sort of mentally telling it to like hold still. I'm gonna try and take a closer inspection at what may have busted or what may have been locked up.
All right. Roll either sleight of hand or arcana. Your
Okay.
choice. The outcome will change based on the type of roll you select.
Uh,
Tudriel
that'll-
storms over, attempting to diagnose and remediate the problem.
That's an Arcana of 14.
On a 14, you rack your brain for solutions. This hasn't happened before, but you were given some training, and so in that vein, you begin to think through what could have been happening, the way the mechanisms function together, what might have gone wrong. Perhaps there's a bit of mud somewhere it ought not to be, grain, dirt, clogging up the mechanism. You scratch your chin and lose yourself in thought. And thinking through all the options, you decide to take a closer look because, or maybe you don't decide that, but whatever you do decide, whatever is happening does require a more granular peek because you can't quite fix it precisely without doing so.
I would have the proper equipment to look at that though, right? Like to just at least observe and see what may be.
Do you have Tinker's tools?
Mm-hmm.
Then yes.
Yes. So I will take a quick little small pouch from sort of my back, I won't call it pocket, but sort of back hip area. Kind of pull it out and then pull out sort of a smaller sort of, magnifying glass to take a look and start inspecting over the gears and joints to see what may have caused things to be locked up, and sort of peeling back some of the gears to sort of see what may be sort of locked up, if it may be deeper than just the initial surface level stuff that I missed.
All right. You do this. Now, the Nimblewright is a construction based on humanoid anatomy, and so you first look at the hips. I need another Arcana roll from you.
Okay.
You pop open a panel and observe the sigils inscribed into the structure of the Nimblewright, beginning to look over what has been perhaps obscured or broken somehow. All of the sigils check out. What's your Arcana roll?
17.
And you're looking so quickly that you almost wouldn't have noticed one of the sigils. It's different. There are so many of these peppered throughout the body of the Nimblewright that knowing every single one is a feat unto itself, and it's the reason that you were given permission to run this thing. And so, you notice that one of the sigils is carved slightly different. You can't tell whether a gash tore this, rather, whether the metal of the construct tore something into this or not. For just a moment, that is, until you think about it, and you see that one of the sigils has transmuted from transmutation magic to necrotic.
Would I be able to adjust that, to mend that
Do you have mending?
I do have mending.
Yes. In a heartbeat, you kind of huff to yourself and placing your fingers gingerly over the inscribed runes. It's a clever little thing, however, this happened. An accident which might be one in a million. Just one small slash to change the whole word from transmutational to necrotic. You place your fingernails gingerly into this crack and mend it. And all at once, as you replace the panel, it rights itself and seems to even be running smoother. It replaces the blade and stands at attention.
See? That's all it takes is just a delicate touch.
And with that, I'm going to say that you turn around and see that you have arrived at the village. Sudriel, as you get up, your boot scuffs one of those cobblestones from out under the mud, and you feel somewhat heartened to know that somewhere in this town, whether the windows reflect to this or not, there is a hearth to be had. You arrive, and a thick mist obscures the distance. The shapes of the town are imminently discernible. And decidedly dilapidated. The structures in this village slouch as if they have been up standing this way for hundreds of years. The stucco is peeling, and yet somehow, even with the severity of the dilapidation, is intact. For the most part, a few places seem to be much worse for wear. Panes of glass somehow still find themselves inside leaded windows, and you hear that mournful wail echoing through this otherwise deserted town. For the moment, it's all you have to know that anybody is here at all.
Victor would charge his shocking grasp in his hand, while his fingers kind of moved erratically and anxiously as he.
The whine enters all of your ears, only pierced by the wail. It's a strange cadence, those two. They orbit around each other with auditory confusion, dissonance. The nimble right paces.
Seeing like no apparent signs of life, I'm gonna continue leading the group forward, telling the nimble right to be at the ready as we proceed.
With regal posture, it places a palm upon the pommel of the rapier, and together you move forward. One of you strikes a match and lights your lantern, and if you don't have one, you do now. I believe that was Braden?
Yeah.
Victor produces a lantern and lights the wick inside. The light spills out from the thing and illuminates the ugly ground in front of you.
You said
Together.
we can. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You said we can hear the wailing.
Somewhere in this town.
Does it sound like it's coming from a general direction, or does it sound like we're enveloped in it?
It sounds like it's coming from somewhere in the distance.
Okay.
So, a general direction, yes.
Cool.
I'm trying so hard not to break the immersion because something just popped into my head like an ADD thought.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh
You hear
God!
the faint in the distance. We're whalers on the moon. We carry a harpoon, but there ain't no whales, so we tell tall tales.
Oh no.
Sudrill,
just
Oh,
in the
your brain.
distance.
Sudrill quietly hums this.
Hums.
Listen, wait, listen. Harpoon.
You have, in a sense, reign over the town. To go where you wish, to see what you wish to see. Where do you go?
I think first option or first step is a bed, a place to lay down. So
An inn.
An inn, indeed.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The triangle.
And so you begin to set off.
Do we even?
Indeed.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're moving.
Okay.
Here
we go.
as we're going, Victor leans over to Brittany and says, "Hey, by chance, do you know where the fuck we are?"
You said you lean over to me, sorry?
Brittany. Brittany?
She might not be able to
Yeah.
respond. She was still
That's
driving.
fine. Yeah. Either way, it's fine.
I'll chime in, sort of cutting off before Brittany can answer. Something tells me that we're not anywhere close of where we used to be. Something strikes me as odd about this place. It's something out of a book, out of a tale even years ago, but it doesn't make any sense. It's not preposterously feasible that one could coherently be in a time long past, but yet we stand here amongst these buildings.
He lets out a very long sigh. It was yes, yeah, I was afraid there was some hijinks here. Didn't want to be right. This isn't ideal.
You murmur to yourselves and enter the town square. You look around and see that to your to your right, there's an easel set up. A small girl in drab-looking clothes stands poised, afraid almost. You only see the back of her, but she's holding her hands in front. The easel holds two separate sheets of paper,
Why is
and
she so tiny?
someone gesticulates from beyond the frame. To your left, you see there are some people shambling around in the mist. Their voices are low and as drab as the clothing of the girl you see, though the details of their clothing you cannot quite discern, for they are far away. Also looking right, you see a pleasant-looking building. Compared to the somewhat dilapidated state of most everything else, you can tell the roof needs new shingles, but the rest of it is rather prim and proper. Red shingles on top, and a finely mortared stone foundation. A sign swings idly in the soft wind, and the mists curl up at the chimney, from which two thin trails of smoke effuse. To your left again, a building with a tower seems to rise from the ground. It also is kept a little cleaner than the homes, you presume, around it. You hear the clang of a blacksmith's hammer somewhere nearby, and then interspersing all of these observations, that low wail once more, the clatter of a wooden cart somewhere, and the low murmuring of village chatter, far more subdued than it ought to be. You see the figures to your left, and they see you finally. And as quickly as they can, they move away. So,
like a jump Veggie Tales.
Whoa!
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh my gosh. Why does Zach... Why is your name not your character's name on Discord?
We ask that every single time, babe. I don't...
Well, it's not it on Tailspire either, so I can't ever remember his
Sutrio.
freaking name.
Sutrio.
For now, I'm going to turn on exploration mode. I suggest you travel in groups, but you are free to go wherever you wish.
Sudru.
Yes.
That letter we found. You mentioned Damphir. That's a vampire, right?
The letter specifically mentioned vampire.
Oh, vampire.
But I think that question could be just as well phrased that way, and just as feasibly phrased, that is.
That's like vampire, right? Like.
Well, from my study and knowledge, it's, yes, of the vampiric descent and of the land somewhere between death and life. I'm sure
With your roll from earlier, you would actually understand that particular spelling of vampire to be a very old phrasing. If anything, the original.
Yeah.
Do you think you said something about being kind of like in a new realm? I guess. My question's twofold. One, do you think we can get back? And two, do you think there's actual vampires here?
Oh, I'd say for both questions, the answer is the same. Probability is still as good as it ever was, and until it's proven that we can't or there are none, we should assume that there is something out there.
All right. All right. If we
Following
can...
this conversation, you kind of are able to break as a group. And again, I'm going to say, you're in exploration mode now. If you wish to look around, everybody may pick one place to put their character. This map is made to be explored by me for you guys. So please, have a lark.
I put my character on the moon because that's where the whalers are.
Oh my God.
Yarr.
There's whalers on the moon. As I kind of like answer Aiden's question and sort of half reassure him, I'd still think back to the group that was over here on the left. Aiden, would you mind accompanying me? I thought I saw at least some sort of populace this way, and it would be less imposing in a smaller group.
Of course. We don't want to go solo, but we definitely don't want to necessarily intimidate anyone we find either. Probably in this place, it seems a little grim. I think that's a good thought.
And so, I guess taking myself the clockwork or sorry, the Nimblewright and the good friend Aiden here. I'm gonna start leading us this way.
All right.
And
As
sort
he
of,
goes,
yeah.
I'm
Headed.
sorry, I was
Oh, go
muted.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll peep up like, Sudra, uh, social cues aren't always my thing, but these people seem quite squirrely, as one might say, and not trusting of strangers, and I simply wonder how they might feel with a giant metal robot accompanying you, if that might make them feel threatened.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I can elaborate my way out of it, but you'll be just at home here with them, and I'll kind of like continue working my way away, just with a small group of 3.
A small flash of silver glints out of your collar as the Harper symbol just barely catches the light before re-obscuring. And you 3 make your way over that way. Victor, do you join?
No, I would not.
Sorry, you said I would see a glint of silver, or I would flash from my own glint of silver?
As a scene thing.
Oh, okay.
As sort of like a, if you will, a shot. A glint of silver catches the light as you go, and the 3 of you move. That leaves others of you. That leaves Victor, Sadrin, Brittany, and Mirio. Where do you decide to go?
Victor does not know where to go.
There are a number of different landmarks that might interest Victor. There is the girl posing in front of the easel. There is the sort of tap house looking building. There is the building with the tower. And there are several other buildings scattered throughout.
This building right here with the tower, is it right beside us?
To your left.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll mosey on that way. I'm gonna go check out this tower because towers typically remind me of smart wizard types, and maybe they have some books, and maybe I can get some sort of, I don't know, something out of being in this terribly dreary town.
I'll come with you, Victor. In an
I'll
attempt
go
to
along
get
with
away
you.
from Mirio, I'm gonna follow Victor.
That would leave Mirio alone, so he's gonna follow Victor too.
No, because you have Brittany still.
Oh, there's Brittany. Okay,
Yeah.
me and Brittany will ball. Why not?
Frick it, we ball.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Vrit, we ball.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I'm gonna roll an insight check. Set the DC, Matt. This is just for
What are you trying
Mirio.
to become insightful of?
I'm gonna insight, like, Sadrin trying to get distance from Mirio.
Mirio observes as Sadrin kind of flits a glance over and then immediately moves the other direction. Roll insight DC. How overt are you with that?
Well, that
by
was
the
a
way,
natural 20.
Sadrin? All right. You get exactly what's happening.
There's no hiding it. No hiding it whatsoever.
What would ordinarily be a subtle gesture is all the more charged from having known each other previously. And you interpret exactly the turn as it is.
Well, I just turned to Brittany. here in the town square, and I'll just say, well, the two of us will stay here, I suppose. Would you you could maybe play music for people here.
Oh my god. You want to hear my music?
You
Okay,
were
I would
you were
love
talented.
to. I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just gonna say you were very talented in the tapper room, and maybe you can bring the nice warm-heartedness to this cold place.
You flatter me, Mirio. Don't ask me twice. And I'm gonna pull the lute off my back. Any request for a type of song?
Something ominous, but
Okay.
also fun. I think a good melody would do something I like. Da 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 da.
I was gonna say that is what I'm going to play.
Da 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 da.
I'm going to say I'm playing the down
Ah, da 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 da
the
da
pipe song from on my lute.
Ordinarily, I would say a fairly cheerful player. You can't help but make your way to the minor chords and begin to pluck out this staccato, abrupt tune in the middle of the square. The figure behind the easel leans over. You see a head of curly, tousled hair. And the girl also turns to see you. Her face is smeared with mud, as is the man who seems to be behind the easel. They both look at you with different expressions, though. The girl with the distrust of a child. The man with a strange curiosity. When the girl turns, satisfied with her understanding of who you are, the man still studies you, tries to discern what you're doing here. And as the chords are plucked in the middle of the square, you see he squints and then smiles before returning to whatever work is in front of him. Sadrin, where did you say you were going again?
I was following Victor
Okay.
to the yeah.
So, there is time for all of you coming now. We're going to start with Mirio and Brittany in the square.
There's time
All right.
to just
Let's hear it, Brittany. Let's hear your musical rendition of one.
Of
Can
what?
everybody hear the music, by the way?
Where's the music?
In Tailspire?
Do I have it muted?
I would
I
if I
think I
had my
muted it.
volume up.
Okay.
I'm turning it
I
up.
hear it. I'm playing a nasty
have
riff
it?
on my guitar. It's electric, by the way.
It's a
I carry on my own amp as well.
I would like you to roll Arcana.
Me?
Brittany. Yes.
Arcana, you said?
Yes.
Which dice to use?
Yes.
That's the important question right
All
now.
of them.
All of that.
At once.
Just roll all your dice and pick the one that is the best.
The best one. Okay.
Yeah, just roll all 6 or 7 dice and
You
See
guys
which
hear
d20s
like just like 10 dice hit my desk.
you're a loud whomp.
The desk actually
I just
breaks.
place it on a 20. I don't even roll it. I'm like, oh, natural 20.
I
I got
never
a 10.
played with anybody like that before. Anyways,
I got a 10.
a 10 is enough to know that something about the way the sound carries here is different, heavier, more resonant, and at the same time shrill. Macabre, in a sense, like a harpsichord. You languish in the new, tone of it, and continue to play until you are satisfied.
And I'm gonna do a flourish with my bow.
Is it getting darker for you guys?
It did get darker. Yes.
Every once in a while it does, yeah.
Seems
But then it lightens up again.
Okay.
Adds to the eeriness.
Brittany finishes and flourishes.
So after I flourish, I like look up at Mirio and I'm like, kind of like waiting for a response to my last performance.
Your
Thank
clapping
you, thank
resonates.
you. You don't even need to do that. Stop, please.
Oh, but he did.
And it's
Is
joined.
he the only one clapping right now?
For a moment, yes. And then the applause is joined from behind the easel. And you hear the voice of the man who's again popped his head out. He says, "Bravo! That was very nice. It's been a long time since we had anyone here who played the lute."
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
love the lute, but I can play other instruments too. So if you ever want to hear anything else that I've got on me, just let me know. Love playing for you.
He disappears behind the easel for a moment, and you see it kind of jostle as he flourishes on whatever canvas you might call his work surface. He leans back around and says something quietly to the girl, taking one of the sheets of paper and putting it around the easel for her to grab. She looks at it, smiles, and then pads off, kind of crunching the paper preciously as she goes. He walks around then, rolling the other piece of paper and putting it into a small crock, you might call it, with a few other rolls already placed inside, and says, "What other instruments do you play?"
Well, I obviously don't have everything on me because I can only carry so much. But I do have a flute, my lute, and I believe I had another instrument that you had me add last time, but I can't remember what it was. Like a harp or something?
A lyre,
A
I
lyre.
believe, or a harp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I did add it. A lyre,
okay.
a flute, and a lute is what I have at the moment. Or if you have any instruments in the town, I could probably play it. Just saying.
Nothing as finely crafted as what you have there. Would you come closer? You're kind of shouting at each other over the distance of the square.
Oh, sure. And I'll grab Mirio's arm as I walk over to the guy.
The two of you near the easel setup, and you see he's got something quite clever going on. As he begins to set up another two sets of paper, you watch as a spectral hand begins floating around from where you could not see previously behind that bush there, and it rejoins him at the easel. The hand is absolutely skeletal in nature. A purplish light emanates from it with a soft glow, and it floats over to the base of the easel, which is crowded with bits of charcoal. He says, if you play the lyre for just a little longer in front of me here, I'll trade a piece of art for a piece of art. Eh?
You drive a hard bargain, and I gladly accept. Any requests?
Do you know the Raven's Croon?
Do I know the Raven's croon?
You may roll history or arcana. Your choice.
17 Arcana.
On a 17 arcana, what do you remember of Bard College?
You're asking me that?
Yes, just as making up character lore right now. Did you even attend the Bard College?
I did. I did. And I was a big party animal at Bard College, of course. And Brittany for the win. But I also like have a soft spot myself for classics. Though I typically don't play them because I know that's not the like fan favorite, so I've learned lots of other stuff. But if it's something like ancient sort of classic, I might know the song. So I just don't know about this one though.
Actually, no. You do know about this one. All your time spent partying at Bard College could not squelch your love of classic oration and musical notation. And you actually do know the Raven's Croon. It's a very old song, very seldom played except for academic purposes these days. I don't know whether it would be something that you would have enjoyed, but it's not quite a jig, more of like a tonal type thing, chords strummed
what?
at length. It's kind of like the Gregorian chant of music. Lots of drones, if you can approximate them on a stringed instrument. It's an old song, centuries old. However many, you're not quite sure, but a very old song.
Well, sir, I'll have you know I was top my class. She was not top of her class, though she chooses to believe she was. So, of course, I know the song. You have very classic taste. I'll gladly play it for you. And then I'll, like, prepare myself with my lute.
The man looks a little shocked at first and says, "You must be Vistani. Not many, not many besides them know that one. I will get to work as you do as well." He disappears behind the canvases, beginning to peek out every now and then. The paper jostles as he works. And you get just a little peek of what he's doing behind the easels, because he has to face you. He begins to draw, and the spectral hand next to him suddenly floats in duplicate with his motions, grasping a piece of charcoal and moving it exactly as he does. You can't quite see what's on the paper, but you can approximate that whatever he's drawing with his own hand is being done exactly with the other one. And as you play this long, droning tune, you finally watch as he pulls back, does one last measurement with the charcoal, and says, "Ah, finished." He wrenches the copy drawn by the spectral hand out from the easel and brings it over to you. It's not caricature art, that's for sure. The art itself, a portrait of you, is drawn with deft proportions and is very dramatically lit because the charcoal is so dark and the brightness of the paper is the only way to show the lighter areas of what he saw in front of him. You receive a portrait which is a sort of dark rendition of how you look when you play, inflected upon seemingly with the air of this land, glum, severe, and gothic. He says, "I'm very appreciative. I only hope that what I have for you here is going to engender the same sort of appreciation.
Well, I love it. I don't think I've ever looked better. And I'm gonna like roll it up so I can put it in my pack.
Oh, very few around here have. That is my specialty, of course. I see things about the people here. He leans in. You know, it is nice to draw somebody who actually has a feeling to them. Sometimes somebody walks up and they have just nothing in their eyes. It's insufferable to draw such people. They don't know how to hold themselves. But you,
Is that common here? People to have like a dead look?
ugh, all too common.
Is there like a tavern? Like would music liven up the place a little? Or is it
He
like
jerks
more
a
there's
thumb
more of a
behind
reason?
him when you say, "Is there a tavern?" and says, "Yes, the Blood of Divine Tavern, right behind me. If you fancy wine, it's certainly the place to go. There's a fine selection there."
But would you say this vibe, this aura that we're feeling here, is that usually because of the lack of music? Because it does sound pretty quiet. Or is it more because of some other reason that you could wink wink I like clue me in on here?
Roll persuasion. He does answer very readily, but I just want to see how persuasive you will be. The DC would be incredibly low, but in any case.
Incredibly low, he says. 14.
14. The man says, "Oh, well, there is much fear sown in this town. Much to be afraid of, that is for sure. And not much to stand up to that fear."
What?
He looks absent-mindedly behind him, and he watches his eyes languidly view the towering spire, which you are shocked to realize is the castle. Viewable even from here. You see that a shadow obscures a steepled building in the distance. The shadow of the castle obscures a steepled building in the distance, and he turns his attention back to you, saying, "There is not much which gets the people activated, you might say. Other than wine, of course. Everyone appreciates a good goblet of wine. But yes, it is often quiet. People scarcely exit their homes many days."
Is there a reason people don't go around? Like, is it dangerous here? Because we did arrive. Kinda spooky. And we still need to find a place to stay. So if it's dangerous at night, that'd be very good to know.
How long have you been here?
Like, we just showed up. Like, my performance in the square, a little subtle entrance for you, of course.
I can tell. All I have to say is this. Even here in the town, the streets on some occasion are not for the living to tread. The woods, perhaps you walked through them, past them, you have seen them, no doubt. You know of the denizens there in part. Tell me, what did you encounter? Wolves?
I mean, yeah, it was wolves. So,
Agents of the devil?
were they? I just thought they were really big wolves.
Many things are. Many things are the
Oh.
agents of the devil himself.
So you're saying there's undead things here?
You
Here?
do not have to
Or
be.
found?
You do not have to be grasped in the grip of undeath to be an agent of the devil. There are just
Interesting.
many who bow to him.
Okay. Very interesting. I guess I'm not surprised because of the gloomy, ominous atmosphere here.
Though I will say, slightly concerning since my group just split up. So maybe I should. I'm gonna go talk to my buddy over there. But it was a pleasure talking to you. I will hopefully be able to play in the tavern a night or two. I will take tips, of course. And will likely be in whatever comfy inn you guys have here. Could you do you mind pointing that out for me, by the way?
Comfort? An
Well,
inn?
do you have any inns here?
Not in this town. Nobody.
Oh,
Nobody stays here. It is not a place to stay unless staying is all you can do. There are few comforts in the village, chiefly wine, and
so does the
secondarily,
tavern ever close?
scarcely. The doors are open, should you
Okay.
wish to enter.
You know, that'll do. That'll do. Okay, thank you. I'm sure we will find a place to dilly-dally, as the kids say. And I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
walk back over to Mirio and be like, so, they don't, like, any inns here. Like, there's no place for us to just go get a little comfy bed, hang out. What am I supposed to do? I need my beauty sleep, Mirio. I'm already exhausted. We have traveled through a whole night. This place is freaky. Apparently, there are undead things surrounding this place. I might lose it, and I may have to play at the tavern just to feel better. And I'll need wine. Thoughts?
Well, you could sleep here in the plaza.
Like camping again?
Yeah,
I
like at
mean-
a camping again, you know?
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
It
We've
shouldn't
done it
be too
before.
bad. Yeah, and you know, we can survive as
I
something
mean, I
like
was only
this.
hoping since it was a village they would have extra beds. What village doesn't have extra beds?
Well, it seems this one.
Yes,
It
we
seems
picked
this one.
the perfect. Anyways, do we know where everyone else went? I was kind of like not paying attention.
I don't know.
You look
I think-
around.
I know the
Um,
general direction they started to walk, right?
Yes. You know that some went into the building with the tower and some went behind it into the plaza thereby.
So-
While
He
you
also
look,
said
I'm going
that
to pop out for a second.
the like castle's super creepy and makes everybody on edge. The reason there's no inn is because apparently nobody stays here unless you're stuck here. So, note, Mirio, we're not getting stuck here.
Right, yeah.
I have a feeling they wouldn't give me very many tips here. That's not livable. Also, pretty sure it doesn't matter anyways. Whatever people have like a mission that they're doing, right? It's just along for the ride, so as long as we're not stuck here for your mission, I'm fine.
We should be okay. I'm not super familiar with this kind of thing of what has come about here, so I'm sure we'll be safe. We're fine. At least we'll make it so.
Well, I sure hope so. So, yeah, I don't know if we should just hang out here more or just go for a meet up with anyone, but I'm
Well,
gonna stick by your side because
We could have probably walk. I think one group went over that way in the plaza, and then another group, Victor, he went to the tower. So we could maybe, depending whatever you'd like to do, we could follow.
But you're putting a little bit of pressure on me right now.
Okay, I will make a decision. We will go to the tower.
Perfect. Lead the way.
I'm going to walk in the direction of Victor and the group that went to the tower.
Sure. And we're going to switch perspectives now to the group as they had entered the building. Victor and Sadrin, You walk up to the edifice of this towered building and see that sparse light from it spills out from behind drawn, heavy curtains. A sign hangs over the door and then is mounted to the side there. It creaks on the sign over the door creaks on hinges and reads Bildrath's Mercantile.
Would Victor know what a mercantile is?
Yes, it's a shop.
Okay. I don't know. I know. I sure as hell don't know what a mercantile is.
That's
It
where
is-
you buy
it is-
cloths
it
and
refers-
clothing. Yeah.
It's like the same as general goods.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I suppose it can't hurt to help. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm so tired. I apologize. I have never spent this long out of the city.
It's all good. We're all a little crazy, wacko, weird.
I'll open the door for her.
And I'll nod and walk in.
It's cutscene, Matt.
Victor opens the door, and the two of you pass through into a building which is very nicely lit compared to the other circumstances of this place. Let me see. The door closes behind you. And you are greeted with a fairly well-stocked general goods store. A man seated behind the till of this place starts as you enter and then says, welcome to Bildrath's Mercantile, the emporium of everything you may need. At good prices, no less. What can I help you with?
My compatriots and I just arrived here in town. We were lost in the woods and somehow found our way here. I was just hoping you might be able to point us in the direction of an inn, somewhere to catch some sleep. And I was also hoping maybe we could look at your wares.
If I may suggest, instead of an inn, you look closer to your proximity, perhaps over on this shelf. He gestures over to a shelf with a number of bedrolls on it. He says, for there is no such place in Barovia's village proper, but I can give you some sort of accommodation that you might rest this evening with.
Oh. Why is it that you don't have any type of inn? Seems to be,
We have no need. If you
No
wish to
visitors.
sleep in a bed that is not your own, I suggest you make your way to Valaki.
Pardon. What is Valaki?
You're new here.
Oh, very much so.
It is a place of stupid people in the Disvalish Woods. Do you know the Disvalish Woods?
He just kind of like looks at him and like shakes his head no.
I see. They are the woods that you probably have seen from around the village. The trees that you see in the distance are the Svolic themselves. Yes, it is a little ways journey to Velaki. If you wish to find some sort of accommodations that are not, standard in-housing, I suggest that you maybe make friends with somebody in the village, for there will be no place where you may pay for a bed and board here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But can I see your wares now?
Oh yes, they're plainly arranged on the shelves for you to see for yourself. This place is stocked with plenty of general goods, as well as some slight amount of specialty goods. Very, very slight. What would you be looking for?
Nothing in particular, just carousing, if you will.
You note that the quality of these things uh, is not super high. Of course, you see many different things, but they seem like approximations of what you might find in a place like Waterdeep, where you just left, even Daggerford, or a small village which respects craft in any sense. The things here are somewhat hackneyed. The cloth has moth holes, the metal is tarnished or dented. The goods are generally drab. But they are goods no less. And there is quite a variety of them. The man behind the till says, by the way, I am Gildreth. What might your names be?
Gildereth?
Bildreth.
Bill. Gotcha.
Yes, with
I'm-
a O.
Pleasure to meet you. My name is Sadrin.
Hey,
And
Sadrin.
this is Victor.
Victor. Are you stooping at all, Victor? You got the shifty eyes?
Very subtly because he's not feeling as threatened here, but he definitely is just almost just out of a force of habit, ever so slightly hunched.
Ah. Well, yes. Is there anything I can help you find? Anything to aid you on your travels, perhaps? You seem to be travelers.
Do you by... let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Please hold. Nope, never mind.
Nothing at all?
Do you have any books by chance?
Books? Yes, we have a small assortment of them. And he does gesture to a shelf with like 5 books on it.
Anything like not any of those 5 books, not your normal finds as far as books go?
You rush over to the shelf and find dusty tomes with jackets that have seen quite a lot, and covers which have just barely survived over the years. The fibers of the things are beginning to show through whatever leathering or paper might have been overlaid and glued on. But they are books no less, and you pick one up to observe what is contained within it. The title on the cover of the book is lost to time, but you open up the pages and see a penned manuscript. No press was involved in the making of this book. This was scribed. It's a book of children's fables, written in an old hand. The first tale you begin to read details a witch and a child who went off to go ask for food because his mother would not give him what he wanted. And you get about a paragraph in before Bildreth says, well, if you're going to read the whole book, you might as well buy it, you know? No need to spoil it.
You're not wrong. How much do you want for all 5?
Oh, 5. You look at the other books. There's one that seems to be some sort of small journal-sized book. Not that it is a journal, but sized that way.
Yeah.
A larger book, which is just large print, essentially. And then a couple, like, books to catalog things around the area, botanical, flora and fauna, and otherwise as well. Customs of the people. He says, all 5, let's see. He starts to add on his fingers. Would you do 500 gold pieces?
For 5 dusty falling apart books.
They're very valuable books. You won't find any like them anywhere in this village. Or elsewhere, mind you. And if you want it bad enough, you'll pay for it. Unless you don't have that kind of coin. I'll tell you what, I'll sell you one for 100 gold pieces. That is a deal if I've ever heard of one.
I don't know. Seems rather steep for something falling apart.
Victor leans over to the side. Say, how you say your name? I'm sorry. Sadrin.
Sadrin.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Sadrin, kind of in a hushed kind of tone, like, he definitely is price gouging. But I think he kind of has a monopoly. Have you seen this town? I think he's right. You're not gonna really find books anywhere else. I think this
You
is a
also
take-or-leave
know that for a book that is freshly pressed and new in anywhere with sane prices, that is 4 times the price it ought to be.
Yeah.
He is a shyster, as some might say.
Let me ask you, how long have these books been on your shelf?
Quite a long time. There are not many readers which are willing to pay the price.
Well, I wonder why. No book, even in mint brand new condition, is worth 100 gold pieces.
If it was in mint condition, it would be worth 250 exactly.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, sure. that
Um,
would.
You know what? I don't need any of them, and I'm gonna put them back and literally just walk out.
Hey, gold buys with the heart desires, and I still have not enough desire. Come back when you are willing to spend coin on anything.
And I don't even, bother acknowledging his comments. I just keep walking out.
Kind of says that to both of you, even if Victor stays a little bit.
And I'll just stay out. I'll just stand outside the door. Kind of off to the
As that
side.
happens, Victor he has like 2 pieces of gold in his hand. He looks at me and goes, "Well, I was gonna give these to you, just for helping us get a handle on our situation. But you cursed that nice woman, so I'm leaving." And then he leaves too.
Yeah, you think that's a curse? We've seen nothing yet. And the door closes behind you.
And as I close, I kind of look back and I give a, "And neither have you."
What was that, little man?
I don't respond.
Oh,
As he gets out, he looks at Sage and he's like, that pumpkin, I swear, and he's like going through his notes that he's taken. He's like, I'm gonna crack the code on this nimble right, and when I do, they called me crazy. They'll all see.
It's okay, Victor. It's all good. It's his loss that he decided not to make a deal. His
Oh,
loss. Those books will sit on his shelf for another 100 years.
Yes, he will have a loss. I promise you.
Sadrin, I'd like you to roll insider history.
Okay. We'll do history. That is a 16.
On a 16 history, you remember why the Harpers were contracted to go with you, and it was because they knew how to work the nimble right. And yet, Victor seems fresh.
Confused. Okay. Victor, can I ask you a question?
I suppose.
Have you really never seen a nimble right before?
No, I had not. I am new to this mission. I was a last-minute stand-in, as the first one had a nasty run-in with one of the griffins.
But you've been a part of the Harpers for a while.
Yes, mostly in Underling. This is my first expedition out. I was mostly just doing a lot of their bookkeeping and doing experiments in my meantime, and apparently all of that hard work paid off, as my father used to say. And here we are, on my first adventure. And so far, it is actually not going any way that I thought it would, but I assume that's just normal with you adventuring types.
I'm gonna like do one of those like thinking nods for a second. Pat him on the shoulder and say, "Well, it's good to have you along anyway."
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. Do we see Mirio and Brittany coming toward us at this point, or?
No, not yet. Well, you could if you wanted.
Yeah, I would say I'd see them and I'd wave them down.
Yoink. You meet in front of Bill Draft's Mercantile.
As they approach, I go in. All right, so we got bad news and bad news. First, the bad news. That guy in there, not a good merchant. Really terrible. I would not recommend spending any of your money with him. Second part of bad news, there is no inn in this town, so we are either looking to sleep on the streets or out in the forest, neither of which I am particularly inclined to enjoy.
Could just camp in the streets. Put up a tent.
I guess. Not. Kind of icky, don't you think?
Better than the woods.
True.
The wail of the town breaks over your conversation. You feel that you are somehow closer to it.
Okay. What the hell is that? I've been scared of it from the moment we got in this town.
Well, I'm not going back in to ask him about it.
Oh, hell no. He'd probably ask you for 30 gold just to say hi.
What's the matter? What do you mean he asked for 30 gold for it say hi?
Because
Inside?
He's a price gouger, and he's going to pay dearly. Just not right now.
What do you mean? He's charging a lot for information.
He wanted 100
He was
gold.
trying to charge 500 gold pieces for 5 books that were falling apart and dusty.
Are they magic books?
No.
What kind
The
of?
one that I was reading was children's tales. There wasn't even a title on the front page. It was so worn. Then there was a small little journal-looking one about the stuff surrounding the area, probably botanical things.
Yeah.
This lady's a note taker.
I actually haven't written any of that down.
She takes notes with her mind palace.
This one has a brain on her.
Supply and a demand. I suppose maybe books are just harder around here.
Oh,
Well,
no,
that and you probably doesn't get anyone looking to buy any, so they're just gonna sit there for another 100 years.
Or books that are just really rare.
Should just swipe
yes,
it.
but a good businessman, as my father said, makes his own market.
Is your father a businessman?
Of sorts, yes. He wanted me to take over his business, but it wasn't for me.
What was his business?
Trade goods.
As in women.
What? What the fuck? No! What? My God! Good heaven! How did you get that?
Adrian thinks that trading goods means pimping.
I didn't
Is that
trade
his
goods.
business?
Trade goods.
He wanted you to take over it. Trade goods.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like those are all very common words in any type of father-son business relationship. I didn't think human trafficking came. Not even human. I don't know what to say. Hominid trafficking?
Pimp chimpin'.
Not that big of a stretch,
Chimp
honestly.
pimpin'.
I feel like it might be, but no, just goods in
Well,
general.
at least we know that for sure. That's good.
Well, that I don't know where to go from here. I'll be honest.
You So I mean, we are at least securely in the city instead of being out in the no.
You all, I would think, continue conversing for a little bit, and I would like to switch to Aiden and Sudriel, if that's all right. If you have objections, that's completely fine. You can finish interacting if you'd like to, but with no objections, we move to Aiden and Sudriel.
Objection.
Nimble right.
What?
It's you, dude.
I know.
Your Honor, in my defense, oopsie daisies.
The three of you make your way down the alley behind Bill Draft's, not that you know its name quite yet, and find yourself in a square. In the middle of this place, there is an old well and a woman drawing water. She looks up and sees you. And you can't quite tell if her face always looks like that or if she's grimacing at you. In any case, she hurries her task. Other individuals lounge near their doors, and as they see you walking down the way, they begin to make themselves scarce.
As people sort of disappear into their houses, I'm just going to continue making my way down the path. See if there's anybody that'll still persist outside long enough for me to kind of talk to them. Yeah.
The people scatter like rats, dipping into infrequent houses every other, let's say. Lingering under doorways until you near, and at that point, ducking inside. Even the lady with the water hurriedly sloshes some out of her bucket and then waddles down the way as fast as she can. Only three seem to be unbothered by your presence. They loiter near the back of this house. The wail persists for you as well here. You hear it filtering from somewhere nearby. And you watch as the three eye you. And you notice something else about them as well. There's familiarity about the way they dress. One has his back turned to you. No. On. You approach, I gather.
Yeah.
And the one in the back. Don't mind the gun on the mini. There is no gun.
There is no gun in Bossing.
It's a gun?
God!
But there is
He's gotta go.
There is a cloak and a dress and another cloaked figure. The one facing you most watches you approach with analytical eyes and says, "Hey, you're not from around here, are you?"
You would be right to assume that.
That thing looks like it doesn't look like anything I've ever seen. Personally.
It's understandable. It's quite a unique thing.
Where are you from, travelers?
From far and wide. Not from this area, farther east, actually.
East, you say? How east?
Oh, over the mountains and across the plains, deep within the woods that sit beyond the eye's reach.
As you're having this conversation, you see the man, and you recognize him to be a toned-down version of the individual you met at the tavern in Daggerford. He turns to see you with a flask in his hand, does a slight double take, and then, unexpectedly, bursts into a barking laugh. Oh, of all the luck to have, you must have the worst. I cannot believe you're actually here. Look at this. These are the ones I was talking to you about the other day. Remember me?
Oh. And as he sloshes his drink around some, I would say it becomes more apparent with the cadence that he sort of brings to the conversation. That like I would be like tipped off.
The hair isn't done up, the garb is not as luxuriant, but you can tell by the eyes, the bones of
Selrun.
the face. It's not, it is the man who tried to take your purse, your coin purse.
Oh, okay.
Not the one that tried to steal Addie's loot.
No, same one.
Oh,
The
it's
same.
It is the same one. Okay.
The same one. It seems that really lies do seem to end up in the worst places, I guess.
And here you are, drawn like to a corpse.
Pray tell, what is this corpse-like village that we are in?
You haven't figured that out for yourself? You haven't been able to ask your wizard friend about it recently, have you? Is he here? Somewhere. I would wish nothing more upon him.
Perhaps. But... and I'll think about it for a second as I think about the note that I was given. This isn't Barovia, is it?
Ah, you do know something about where you're at. That is incredible. Yes, it is Barovia. I'm so glad you figured it out.
Well, if only your hands were as quick as your words, you might have gotten somewhere yesterday. But I must ask: is there any place to reside for the night here? We have happened upon a fair bit of misfortune.
But for you? You should go house knocking, see who might have a room for you. Yes. I'm sure you'll be welcomed with open arms. He looks around the square, which has recently emptied because you walked in. And says,
I'm sure.
You could try sleeping outside. Like the rest of us do when we don't have a bed to sleep in, you know?
Right. Well, I wish you the best, as I hope to never cross paths again.
I thought it would never happen, and yet here we are. Perhaps it might happen again, although I hope the same.
Well, try anything like you did before again, and you won't have the fingers to do it anymore.
He eyes the Nimblewright as you say that, and says, I see. You're going to have your metal friend there do all the talking for you at that point?
And I'll puff my chest a bit and kind of wave the nimble right back. No, in fact, he won't do a thing. He won't lift a finger. Instead, I'll have my friends hold you down, and I'll watch as I take my blade, drag it across your hand, inch by inch, letting you savor every last moment of pain. As you think about all the things that have been taken from others, and what I would take from you, as penance, of course. And you'll know that this metallic man is not what you should fear, but instead, you should fear what, you've done to others and what wrongs would be comest of you.
Roll
I'm gonna, straight up just try and intimidate him. That is a good number. That's a 19.
You see, your words have an effect. The bravado that he begins to put out starts as utter confidence and ends with your words in defensiveness. His pupils dilate a little bit. He says, "Strong words. I do not have any doubt that that is what he will do, if only that is what you are able to do. But look around," he gestures. "There is no one like you here. You are alone. And I suggest that the next person you threaten, you make sure they don't have friends around."
I'll make sure the next corpse I land near isn't a stinking pile of shit like yours. And I'll walk away.
Damn.
"Likewise, friend." He says the words, but they come out half-heartedly. Aiden, you're still there. Unless you're not.
No, I mean, I just follow the lead. So I'm happy not talking.
You will the nimble right to follow you. And it lingers for a half second, looking intently at the man before turning to follow, just a little bit after you commanded it. Its hand grips down on the pommel of its blade, and only as you walk away does it relax, as you and it distance yourself from the feelings that this man engenders. You hear higher laughter, higher than the man's voice, and you look back to see the three of those individuals speaking with one another again.
As we get out of kind of range, I'm going to softly check my coin purse again.
You check, and it's there.
Okay.
You fumble
Still
around
feeling,
inside and
still
find all the
feeling,
coins.
yeah. Okay, just making sure. Just needed to know if I needed to remove a few fingers or not.
Yeah. You hear, or you recognize, rather, that there's lute music happening nearby, and that it has recently stopped.
Making my way back in the plaza, trying to see what the music was coming from.
I would say that at that point you would have borne witness to Brittany and the man with the easel. Mario watching on as well. Aiden, do you follow as well, or do you do your own thing?
Whoa, yes.
I just did that too.
Why?
He's soaring, he's flying.
My
There's
mouse
another
locked off the screen and I couldn't control it. Yeah, no, I follow.
Follow me.
Follow him wherever he may go.
The lot of you walk up to where Mirio would have been standing at that point and watch as Brittany plays the lyre, or the lute rather, and the man begins to display this arcane artistry. You would have a little bit of a better vantage, and I think perhaps the curiosity to observe what would happen. Would you say that you go to look around, or do you just watch from afar?
I would say we would move a little bit closer, but not interrupt the whole ongoing of Brittany and the artist.
Yeah. Not interrupting at all. You go around to see at least how it's happening, and watch the same display that Mirio saw earlier. The spectral hand grasping charcoal and moving in tandem with the artist's hand as he works. The scene is unintelligible at first. Vague lines placed at even vaguer proportions with one another, and then as time wears, you begin to see the scene unfold. Brittany in the foreground, the small bushes and the scenery around her beginning to unfold in detail as the artist works. And after a quick 15 minutes, let's say, thereabouts, a caricature-like, but not caricature-styled piece of a charcoal-like plein air sketch is produced and given to Brittany. They begin to converse. You hear Brittany's voice pealing across the air, one of the brighter sounds of this town, and when they conclude their conversation, she comes over, and the lot of you, after a little bit more speech, I think would head to Bildrath's. Now, is there anything you would have wished to have said during that whole time? Any of you?
Because I talked to Mirio when I was done performing, I didn't think people would be back by then. Do they hear that, or was that on the side still? And then we went and met up with them. Because our whole thing was we went first, and then we went to go find them. But
right.
Apparently they all now show up before that.
With the brevity of the encounter that Zach and Brad had, I'd say that they moved quicker than I anticipated, and so you would have found them immediately.
Okay.
Which, for this interaction, a little bit of retcon is no problem at all. You're exploring the town.
I think we would have been there during the middle. Like we would have not said anything during the musical performance or anything right after. We would have showed up like halfway through the painting and whatever was said afterwards about like looking for a tavern. Probably was.
When you show up, would you like have come towards my conversation or stayed farther away?
No, we would have distanced ourselves a little bit. It would have been, you know how like at like a carnival or at a fair, like there's the people that are like up close and watching. There's people that are like 20 feet back and kind of still watching. That's more of what we were doing.
Got it.
Sudrio.
Yes.
Our little friend back there, he didn't seem lost. He seemed to know where we were at.
Yes.
And he was where we were at.
I also recognize that as well. It's strange. He's not like the rest of them. That small little entourage he had. Seemed like they had the comings and goings of those of this dominion.
Matt, would I have been able to pick up, like, I didn't interact, but I was like kind of like studying him. Would I have been able to pick up on any like weird mannerisms or features that maybe set
Background being Haunted One, right?
Yes.
Or is it a different background?
Well, my background's the failed merchant.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, to answer your question, You would have recognized, of course, the brashness of the individual, but nothing untoward. Would there be anything you're trying to match? Like, to identify?
No, I'm just trying to. Seeing him from. With my understanding that we are now in kind of like a different place, and we don't know how we got here, and with this guy seeming to have been both there and here and not have. Like, seeming. Like, not in a situation where we are, where we're like foreigners here. I'm just trying to get a feeling what sets him apart from the other people around here.
Okay, yeah. You notice a handful of things. The first of which is the undauntedness about him and the individuals he was standing with. They, unlike the villagers, loitered in the square and did not shrink back when strangers arrived. The second thing you would have noticed is that the people he stood with bore a sort of, how to say, ethnic similarity. They bore the same features, same kinds of hair, same kinds of facial structures, skin tones, etc. Bearing as well, a certain confidence, as if they might own the world in some sense. And I think finally, you would have noticed ever so slight difference in accent. Particularly if you listened into the conversation with the sketch artist and the man from the tavern.
Okay.
And so, noticing those things, and thereby, or they're shortly after rejoining the group, you have a number of different things you can do still. Does any one of you pick a direction to go or a thing you wish to go accomplish?
I wish to accomplish sleep.
Yeah, that's about it. Victor would again put forth his desire to find somewhere safe enough to sleep. I don't suppose any of you had any type of good luck with any of the townspeople. Maybe I was told that there is no inn, and we should try and see if someone would let us sleep at their house. I don't know. I don't know any of these people. I don't know how much safer it would really be to sleep in one of these houses versus in the streets.
It feels like a large-ish city. There might be an abandoned house if there's no inn.
The size of this map is approximately to scale.
Kid.
This is the village.
I suppose we look for an abandoned house.
At least puts a roof over our head.
All right. Let's have you roll survival. Whoever wishes to go point on this.
It should not be me.
It's
I guess
definitely not going to be me.
I'll do it, I guess. Why not? Ooh, that is a dirty 20.
Nice.
Nice.
A dirty 20. Follow me as I take your characters.
Oh,
Ah, yes. Take me, Maddie.
The lot of you look throughout the town and eventually end up back in the plaza where Aiden and Sudriel were. Surveying the area, you see a number of houses where people seem to be peeking out from behind curtains and whatnot. And then this central building, one which seems to not have anybody looking at you from up top where there's a slight balcony. Old barrels are stacked near the door, and the haft of some cleaning tool sits next to the entrance of the house. The canvas overhang has many holes in it and looks as if mold has taken over it in many different spots. But on that dirty 20, you take a look around and you ascertain that no chimney smoke issues from it, even though there's a chill in the air, and there's no light in any of the windows. It's hard to say if it's fully abandoned, because there is a shuttered basement floor, but from the looks of the upper floor, it might be.
I'd like to go up to the door and knock on it, see if I hear anything from inside.
Which door? There's one up the stairs and one
The
around
one, the one up the stairs. Sorry.
No, you're good. That's a question worth asking in any case. You go up to the door and knock, and it rattles loosely on hinges that are old, and a latch which is even more decrepit. The wood itself of the door is cracking and dry, as if whatever oil might have kept it well mannered earlier in its lifetime has long since evaporated.
Does it stay latched when I knock, or does it slightly move? Or does it move open slightly?
You listen carefully and knock again. It sounds like the latch is rattling in whatever hold it has.
Okay. Guys, I'm not getting any response, so just break the door down.
Well,
Or maybe
is
someone
it
who's
unlocked?
stronger than me. There's a latch from the inside. It's rattling. Probably wouldn't take much.
Well,
Um,
let's look for a more subtle way in before we.
I might be able to get us in as well, without breaking anything.
There's another door around the side if you want to try that one.
Sure. I'll try to open the lower level door.
You try the knob of the lower level door, and it is a knob, not a latch, and find it to be locked, though the mechanism is loose as well. You think that if you had the right tools, you might make quick work of this thing.
Ooh, I feel like I do have the correct tools, and well, this door is locked as well. Do we want in?
Might as well.
All right. I'll pull out my thieves' tools and go to work.
I'll come down the stairs, stand behind him, and just kind of through the door holler, "Is anyone in there?" Hoping to hear something. Again.
Go ahead and roll me a sleight of hand check, Aiden. And
yes.
Sadrin, you offer a slight greeting and hear no reply. The window to the right of the door is latched and shut, the shutters obscuring the inside.
That's a 16.
On a 16, you insert the tools and begin to wriggle them around. And from a heart-stopping moment, you hear the tinkle of the metal inside of the mechanism of the knob block. You pull your tools out, expecting to see a broken pick, but you find that the pick is fine. You were applying enough pressure that you think maybe the mechanism itself broke, and you tried the knob. Quietly, it opens without issue.
Alright, well. After all of you, I kind of like push the door open.
The door opens outwardly.
I open the door and hold it open.
And I'll walk in.
I'll go in last.
The space in here is very cramped. It's a very small home, and this appears to be the cellar.
Well,
Wow, we're all just gonna slam in here, huh?
maybe we want to try to break down the other door.
Why are you so quick to violence? I can go open
It's
the
not
other door.
violence. It's a latch. Good luck.
I'll go check
Just
the
saying.
upstairs door then, and
No
see
more
if
than
there's
two
more
of us
space.
can fit here.
I will go. Why does it keep jumping me a million miles in the air? All right, I'm going to try to open this door as well, Matt.
Okay. You go up to the other story and gingerly tug on the latch. It seems there's no lock associated with it. And with a quiet shove, you push the door open.
Oh.
Looking around, you see nobody casting eyes upon you, and so you enter.
I kind of like lean back before going. This door is unlocked, and I kind of, I'll open the door and go in.
You enter a very small, pretty much a one-bed apartment space. Dust is caked every which way, spiderwebs and cobwebs clog the rafters, and you see a singular table with a goblet of moldy wine and a chair facing the window. Barren shelves contain sacks of what used to be sprouting potatoes. Now you see their long, spindly tendrils have rotted and lay like tendrils of like roots, the roots that they would be, spewing out of the bags like hair. A small pack rests deflated against the shelf, and a footlocker rests at the edge of the bed, a lock still tightly fastened to the latch.
Is there a nice layer of like dust in here?
Oh yes.
All right. Because I'm nosy, I will pick the lock at the footlocker.
Roll sleight of hand again. This one, you notice, is not made of iron like the other one. This one is a proper brass lock, and though it has seen many years, quite clearly tarnished, it's a better construction.
That's a 19.
On a 19, it proves to be nothing you haven't seen before. The lock pops open, and you pocket the brass lock for future use.
Ooh.
Inside, you find a simple set of garments, and pawing through them, you find a small gem, a bloodstone.
Ooh.
Carved into the center of it, like some sort of relief, is the vague outline of a face.
Ooh. All right. And I need to add a brass lock.
What's your passive perception?
And my passive perception
Mm-hmm.
is a 12.
Okay. As you're doing that, you hear a scraping from somewhere in the house. You look up and see that there's nothing skittering across the rafters. When you listen as it comes again, as you pop the lock open and rifle through the clothing, the sounds of the cloth rustling is enough to obscure whatever sound this is. But as you conclude your search and pull out the bloodstone, you hear it again. A small rasp. As if some sort of object across wood.
And it sounds like it's coming from above?
You thought maybe would have been, but it doesn't appear to be. You listen more intently, and it seems to be somewhere on the floor.
I'll kind of... Does it sound like it's coming from, like, under the bed or anything?
You give it a good listen and hear the slight shuffle. And decide that yes, that's exactly where it seems to be coming from.
I get low. And was there a I can't remember. Was there a lantern or something in here? No.
Do you have dark vision?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
It is
60
dark.
foot. Yep.
It is dark in this room. And so as you enter and begin doing your work, your vision changes. It is no longer defined by the hue of the light around you, but instead switches to a slightly gray infrared sort of thing. You see heat in this mode of vision. And as you get low, putting your knees into the dust of the room and palming at it as well, you bring your eye just to the edge of where the moldering blanket hangs and look into the dark under the bed. There's a couple shapes there. At first, you see a dust bunny. Then you see what might be the rod of some sort of short sword. And then you look a little closer. There's something rounder. Something almost the size of like a root vegetable.
I'll
like a large radish or like a daikon.
Yeah. I will pull out my, trying not to like take eyes off. I'll kind of lay my backpack next to me and I'll pull out my tinderbox and I'll just flick a quick spark just to get enough of light just to see if I can get any like reflection of eyes or something staring back.
You flash the tinderbox, and as you do, you hear a scrabbling. As the thing under the bed claws its way out towards you in the flash of the light. What's your AC?
14.
Okay. You take 4 slashing damage as the thing underneath the bed rattles its way over the short sword and onto you. It rakes at your skin and catches you with a deep gouge before flopping down to the floor. And you get a good look at it then. It is, for all intents and purposes, a mummified arm. The forearm, to be particular. It pulls itself along the floor with the fingers of it. And as it falls to the floor, it braces itself and then wheels around, ready to pounce again.
I would like to like pull out a dagger and try to just stab the hand through the hand into the ground.
Roll to hit real quick. The rest of you hear this commotion upstairs, especially if you're still looking downstairs. You would hear it in the wood of the floor.
18 to hit.
Yeah, roll damage.
That's 5 piercing. And I'm trying to have like pierced through it and just kind of like lock it into the ground, like into the wood below.
Yeah. You find that the wood is too soft, too close to rotting to get good enough purchase. But You stab through the thing and watch as you have severed some of the flexors of the arm, thus severing the tendons of the hand. It is unable to flex, it's unable to propel itself, and you see that the middle 3 fingers, as you have stabbed it, no longer work. It tries to wriggle around on just the thumb and the pinky. But you have a good enough leverage against it now that you're able to pretty much manipulate it however you wish. It would not take one more stab to disable it completely.
I don't stab. Instead, I kind of use my foot so it can't really, with my leather boot, it can't really like do any damage to me. I kind of step on the wrist, and I want to like kneel down while I do, and I just want to observe the forearm where it ends. Does it look like it's been severed, like cut, or like ripped off, or eaten, or gnawed?
It looks like it was forcefully ripped. You can tell by the strands of sinew that yet flutter from whatever connections were there, ligaments or otherwise. Although it's hard to discern that at first as it wriggles around, even under the pressure of your foot and the full weight of yourself. It is quite old. And you notice that as it does move itself around, it tries to throw the weight of the forearm around from behind the wrist. And as it does so, the skin just sloughs off from the muscle. And it slides around that way. Kind of like the shell of a peanut, you know? Like the small membrane.
I would like to figure out what's going on upstairs.
You thump your way up the stairs and are treated to this scene with Aiden pinning this animated forearm down on the floor above where you were before.
What in the 9 hells is that?
Appears to be a arm, or a hand and a forearm. It came at me from under the bed and scratched me.
It's moving on its own.
It does appear that way.
That is fascinating. I have to figure out how this works.
Well, if you would like to, careful, it's a little feisty, but I will lift my foot and allow you to do your thing if you would like it.
Is it gonna run away if you take your foot off?
It immediately, as you take your foot off, like uses the weight of the forearm to kind of throw itself to the side, but all it can do is really curl up in on itself.
It's
With
flopping
just
like
the
a fish.
thumb. Yeah, pretty much.
I
Flopping across the floor.
I
with
will
useless
lean
middle
down.
fingers.
And I'll use some of my tinker tool or my smithing tools to kind of push it over and find the best I can to investigate it. Like either can I investigate it and do an Arcana check?
You can do one or the other.
Okay. I'm gonna. I'll
While
investigate.
while he investigates it, can I light a torch and I'm just kind of trying to survey the room for like a dried pool of blood that this might have come from.
Yeah. You light the torch with the tinder that you struck earlier, and the pitch comes to life. And you see now that the room has a splatter of red across the wall that you did not see earlier due to the darkness of it. It's on the floor, too. A deep pool, which, if you didn't know any better, you'd think it was just the floor itself, but you look and you see that at the very corners of the room, the original wood in its unadulterated state sits drying, and it is quite a few shades lighter than the pool in the middle. Meanwhile, Victor, you pull out your smithing tongs and clamp down on one of the more manipulable portions of the severed forearm and begin to Arcana or investigation?
I'm gonna go with Arcana.
Okay. You begin to think through how this might work. Obviously, it's necromantic in nature. You've seen tales, accounts of zombies before, but an arm all by itself, that's a new level. It's a new level of necromantic art. For it to be as feisty as it is, you have to hold it tightly with the tongs to prevent it from flopping around and actually causing any damage to the room. It is animated with a force beyond the muscles that ordinarily magic would be able to reanimate.
Rolling nat 20 in my Arcana, by the way.
What?
I rolled a nat 20 in my Arcana, by the way. I don't know
Yeah.
if that changes anything or.
You can tell that it is a product of this land. And the way things work here will be different from the way they work where you were.
Kind of sit there and I look at it and I start to like kind of very excitedly write down in my journal and I kind of speak out loud to Aiden, but not necessarily to Aiden, just to anyone, thinking out loud. Interesting. Whatever magic made this thing, it's nothing like anything I've ever seen back in Waterdeep. It's almost as if it's a new form of magic or something that's completely a different system of magic. Tinkering. This is amazing. I don't know. I'd have to learn more about this. There could be a whole new school of magic in this place. And
Victor begins to wither away into his thoughts. And Aiden, is there anything else that you try to observe while you're here?
I guess the last thing I do is I make my way to the window and kind of thinking it's a bit odd that the chair's kind of facing the window as this way. I'm just going to try to look and see what out the window and just see what a person who would have sat here was staring at.
You look out the window. Let me see if I can get a good enough shot of this. And you see not much. The back of a house, the alleyway leading to the main road, another house with sheets hung by a rope. The sheets themselves are now tattered as if left to be neglected by the elements. And then the open gray sky and the veiled, misty form of the mountains far, far in the distance. This may have not been it for any particular observations.
I'll kind of like on like the window, and I'm just gonna look for like, is there any like smeared like someone was looking through a specific area, or is there any like anything on the window?
You missed the panes of glass and the oily drag marks of a hand that was braced there show themselves. They descend to the floor.
Does this window open?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I take a seat.
You sit contemplatively next to the goblet of long, moldered away wine. It's more vinegar than anything else now. And you look out the window with the wan morning light pouring in. You see the mountain. You see the house across the way. Roll insight.
Ooh. Where is my insight? 18.
The one thing you can't see from this vantage is the dread castle looming over this village. From this angle, in fact, you barely even know that there would be any shadows overlapping the forms of this village. It's as if it doesn't exist at all. And you think that's perhaps the most pleasant part about this view.
Is this the only window in the room?
Yes.
Okay. And is there, if I remember correctly, was there a fireplace in here, or was that just the chimney from downstairs?
There is a chimney which runs up, and you know that properly constructed would be able to kind of trap heat and radiate it out of the stones.
But it's run from the
It is run from the basement.
Okay.
Anything else?
Unless anyone else has anything, I would go downstairs, back down to the rest of the group, and I would use my torch to kind of end some like kindling. And
what was that about your torch?
I would use just use my torch and like just to help start a fire if there's any kindling or anything in the basement.
Yeah, you make your way back down.
I would follow, but not before tying a rope around the wrist and in between the middle fingers of the hand, as if it was a leash, to see if I could make the hand follow me.
You do this, and then you notice that the dark wood is beginning to become darker. Whatever blood might be contained in this has begun to sludge out of the dead veins and is spilling across the floor like molasses. You notice that the movements become weaker and weaker. And as you pull it along like it's a wooden duck and you're 5 years old, it flops across the floor a couple more times as you re-enter onto the flagstones of the staircase outside.
Is it completely dead at this point, or is it still kind of flopping?
It's twitching. We'll say that.
Twitching, but it's not like doing like the crawling.
It couldn't if it wanted to.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to almost feel a sense of pity for it. And is there any type of jar or box in this room?
There is a bag of old potatoes.
I empty the potatoes out of the bag.
The potatoes don't come at first because they have sprouted through the bag.
Fair.
And it takes a little bit of effort, but you pull the mush that used to be potatoes from out of the bag and insert the arm. Congrats.
I do that,
you
and
have a bag of dead arm. Please add it to your inventory like that.
It's
I take
actually
it out.
A bag of flopping arm.
This is why you don't fall asleep on your arm. If you let your arm fall asleep for too long, it turns into a potato bag arm.
As I come down the stairs, I say, "Hey, Aiden, do you think we should probably check the basement, make sure there's no more homicidal Linns creeping about?"
I mean, we can. I think the rest of the group probably would have found any extra body parts by now.
Well, I suppose that's fair.
Inside the basement, while the others are thumping around upstairs, the rest of you have a moment where you can converse.
Wait, are we all in the cellar?
I assume, unless you're not.
I mean, I know I stayed in the cellar, but I didn't know if anyone else joined me in the cellar.
Let's hear. Did anybody else join in the cellar?
Yeah, I would. I would move inside at this point after kind of
Yeah, I think at this
loitering
point,
around
I would
outside,
go
just
too.
kind of watching. Yeah.
All right. You who entered the cellar, you find it stocked with the basic goods of somebody who might have been a little too close to their day at the grocer's. The fire is not lit when you get in, but if you wish to, you may. A loaf of moldy bread sits by even worse off boots on the hearth. The ash container is full, and you see on the shelves next to the fireplace a number of items of food that have long gone bad. And then a bottle of some unmarked liquid at the top shelf. You see kindling and firewood and a bag of spilled grain of some sort. A couple stools rest near the hearth, and then on the table nearby, you see a bowl, which used to be something, you're sure, but now is just as decrepit as the rest of the food items in this place. Another goblet of vinegar sits on the table as well.
I'll take some kindling and start a fire. Then grab the bottle of liquid from the top shelf and open it and smell it and see if I can figure out what it is without tasting it quite yet.
Differently from everything else in this place, the bottle it exudes a lovely wine-like aroma when you uncork it. And you scuff it as you grab it. Notice that the bottle is not actually matte like you thought it was. Uh, it's just covered in dirt. You scrub away at the label and find um, a finely scribed set of words that read Purple Grape Mash number 9. It smells it smells a little like Moscato, which is to say wine that is more sweet than it is
Yeah.
fermented.
I'll take a swig and then offer it to anyone else who might want some.
How
Anybody
often do you
else?
drink wine, by the way, as your character?
Not often. If it's the only thing available, I'll drink it. But I would prefer like something stronger on a regular
Yeah.
basis.
You'd prefer a brandy to a wine
Yeah.
if it has to be a product of grapes?
Yep. Yeah.
I am all in character. I'm like not quite as excessive, but I'm just kind of like
Gotta aerate it,
a
you
little
know.
fine wine.
You all take tippling, or you all tipple from the bottle somehow, whether you find a container or what.
Brittany just travels with a goblet. I mean, that's just expected.
Dude, Brittany's on Ren Fair mode 24/7.
She's got that like she's got that
the pewter
monogram
mug.
goblet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the leather sleeve on it, so it can be holstered.
Absolutely.
It says VRTT.
Brit.
Oh man, yeah. You tipple out of this bottle. It's delightful. You are given a moment of solace in this dark land with a bit of something sweet to drink, hinted with just a little bit of that fermented wine flavor, enough that it seems to add depth to the sweetness of the grapes. It is, by all means, a Moscato, so not quite what you might consider a fine wine, but it is delicious. And with the hearth warming the room and warming up your chilled fingers and arms, you feel like you've garnered an appropriate respite for a 5-minute break, which we're going to take. Use the restroom, get a drink, whatever you need to do, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
All right.
If you
Cool.
could all try to be, that would be great. the lock is now broken and it opens outward. You see that the latch has a knocker, a round pull handle, and you think you might be able to wedge something into the door frame to at least keep it closed. You have found small but cozy. And surrounded by the mold of the food and the warmth of the fire, and with a little bit of warmth inside of you from the wine, several of you are able to nod off, with or without bedrolls, on the hard cobbles of the basement floor. Do you wish to take a long rest here?
Yes. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Should
Indubitably.
give it a shot, I think, yeah.
That's 3.
Yeah, I think we should try.
4. It's
Okay.
4 of us, yeah.
Got it. Do you have bedrolls?
Yes.
I would
Okay.
assume we would from
I think
sort of
so.
act and such.
If you intended to adventure, I would say
I
so.
do have one in my inventory.
Yeah, same.
The quarters, again, they're cramped. You might have had about the same amount of room if you were sleeping in barracks. And the smell eventually gets a little ripe in there from your travels and being unwashed up to this point. But it is a place where you feel safe enough to rest, and rest you do, even with the wan light of the Barovian skies filtering in through the shutters of the windows. You may all take a long rest.
Oh, bless up.
When you wake, the light has changed, because it is later afternoon.
Question. Sorry. Because I don't know how this works. Do we recover our exhaustion or do we stay exhausted?
Exhaustion disappears 1 level for every long rest, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's
Okay.
correct.
And if I'm wrong, oh well.
Cool.
But for the moment, as you all begin to stir into wakefulness from your groggy rest, you rub the sleep out of your eyes, but you do not dare open the door yet. Not until you're all ready, for you're not sure what exactly will lie beyond the portal in the later afternoon. And that's where we're going to conclude for this evening.
All right.
Thank you all for playing. I'm so proud of the characters you've made, and I'm super intrigued at where you will all go in this world of dread. I hope you had a good time.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love threatening people openly.
It is nice.
Yeah, it is.
I love saying
Especially
no to
when
love.
it's funny when they sort of instigate things and then they realize they very quickly are out of their league in
They're
wordplay.
like, ooh!
Ooh, shit, that's a real biting insult.
The meme with Sully from Monsters Inc. where he's like, mmm!
Yes. I love turning
Yeah,
down good
Addie,
books
you're
that are charged way too much. Love it. Great.
Good times. Dude, I can't wait. I can't wait until next level.
Oh, speaking of next level, we did get the money in for Disney tickets, so we will be buying those within the next week.